Welcome back, everybody. And today we're going to talk about how to extract domains from the AWS exam guide that you can get off of each exam. So if you go to amazon.com/certification, right? So let's just open that website first. Amazon.com/certification. You've got all your certs here, and you got links to each and every cert that you want to get. So I'll put that link in the description. Today we're going to look at Solutions Architect Associate as our sort of typical typical exam that we have, right? They got some description here, but the most important one is the exam guide. So right now, Solutions Architect has two versions, as I've mentioned already in my previous video when I took this exam and I overviewed what I think about the exam. So I took the C02, the new version of the exam, and definitely if you're preparing right now, if you're starting right now, C02 is good for you. If you've been preparing for a while, C01 is still an option, right? You should still be able to take C01. It is still available until July 1st, 2020. But of course, after that, the knowledge required to pass the exam will be all new stuff. All right, so let's look at the exam guide. I've already opened up the exam guide here for C02. And it says recommended knowledge, 1 year of hands-on experience. Yeah, you got to have hands-on experience. There will be questions for this exam that will require you to get hands-on experience. So the first thing I want you to do is to open up an AWS account and start playing around with it. Go and grab some hands-on labs. So I will put the link for hands-on labs in the description. There's 16 hours of free labs on aws.training that will direct you to quick labs. I'll give you the links to those to prepare. But today we're going to focus on the domains, right? So we got domains: design resilient architecture, design high-performing architecture, design secure application and architecture, and cost-optimized architectures. So this doesn't tell us much, right? These domains don't tell us which services we're going to get. So let's figure that out from the exam guide itself. All right. So what the exam guide in the second bullet here says is hands-on experience using compute, networking, storage, and database AWS services. So how do we figure out which services fall into compute, networking, storage, and database? Well, the easiest way to do this is to open up an AWS account. So just go to console.aws.com and then open up an account for you. Here I already have an account ready to play with. And one cool thing about opening an account is you get to click onto services and look what it gives us. Compute, storage, database. Where's the networking? Networking. There we go. Right? So basically, they've given us all the options here: compute, networking, storage, and database, right? In the management console, compute is going to be EC2, right? Yeah, Lightsail is a simple tool to deploy applications, but honestly, on the Architect Associate exam, there's going to be no Lightsail. Lambda, yes, that's something you need to know also. Batch, you need to know what it does. You need to know of its existence because you might get a question on batch on the Architect exam. Elastic Beanstalk, definitely one other option to think about here. Serverless repository, not really important. AWS Outposts, not really important. Outposts are for on-premises computing and making hybrid clouds, so that's not important. EC2 image builder, definitely take a look at that one. It is important. Now, if you're taking this down, EC2, Lambda, Elastic Beanstalk, image builder, and batch is basically what you need to cover here. On top of the compute services, I'm going to say we also need to talk about containers, right? So do we have containers anywhere here? I can't see it. Containers. Okay. All right. So if we look at containers, The mere existence and functioning of the Elastic Container Service, Elastic Kubernetes Service, and Elastic Container Registry is something I would additionally put on top for the architecting exam. Then it says storage. Yes, storage, definitely. You need to understand S3. You need to understand EFS. As far as storage is concerned, also whatever's covered under EC2, EBS volumes and instance stores. Those are crucial. FSX, there are going to be questions on FSX if you take the SA02 exam, right? The version 2 does have questions on FSX. S3 Glacier for archiving. Storage Gateway could have a question on Storage Gateway. AWS Backup, possibly there will be one question on AWS Backup. So for Storage Gateway and AWS Backup, mere just basics, right? But definitely S3, there's going to be a ton of questions on S3. Any exam on AWS that you take is going to have questions on S3. EFS, very crucial to know the difference, how EFS can be more cost effective than EBS. When you have multiple instances, like when you have 10 instances and you replicate data across those 10 instances, it's going to be cheaper to use EFS if you need file system support. Then FSX, you need to know basically the SMB or DFS, NTFS, Windows file share, and also that it has Lustre, support for Lustre. So that's it. And Glacier, when do we use Glacier? When do we archive? And how fast can we retrieve data from Glacier? Sometimes it's going to ask you for the cheapest solution, and it's going to give you some time frames, how fast you need that data to be available, and when Glacier comes into play. All right. So that covers compute, that covers storage, database, because I saw that one's next in our lines here. So RDS is a crucial factor. You need to know which databases you can spin up from RDS. You need to know the facts about replication in RDS, multi-AZ and synchronous replicas, read replicas that are asynchronous, and of course, if you're running Aurora, that changes because with Aurora synchronous replicas, read replicas, any kind of replicas are synchronous, right? In the same region. Also, RDS, they could ask you questions about how to scale, how to connect securely. Like, how do you enforce encryption on RDS? All right, next up we have DynamoDB. DynamoDB is crucial. Understanding of DynamoDB is one of those things that will be definitely something that they will try to examine you on. Then we've got Elasticache, understanding of the in-memory databases in Elasticache. Those three, I say for the Architect Associate exam, those three are the most important. Now, you need to know of the existence of Neptune, Redshift, and the other databases, right? Neptune's a graphing databases. Redshift is an a data warehouse. Neptune is again, like DynamoDB, is as a service. It's a managed service. Redshift is managed instances like RDS, right? QLDB, that's the quantum ledger, right? DocumentDB, again, managed document database. It's basically MongoDB in the cloud. And then Keyspace is another key value database in the cloud. All right. Next, we need to look at networking. So what kind of networking questions will we get? If we look at networking, VPC, the majority of the VPC and the features of VPC, like network access control list, security groups, how network access control lists differ from security groups. Then we've got VPC gateways, the internet gateway, the VPC NAT gateway, and of course, how we can establish our own communication if we put a NAT instance, right? What kind of features do we need to enable when we use a NAT instance? Look into that, definitely. Also, VPN connections, direct connect, those are going to be questions that you should sort of cover. VPN gateway. There are questions on CloudFront and Route 53. So CloudFront for your CDN, when does it make sense to use CloudFront? How to use CloudFront for your static assets? how to use CloudFront as a security tool, right? What security services can sit on CloudFront. Route 53 is the DNS service. You need to sort of know what it is, how to basically configure a domain in that environment. The rest of the stuff in the architecture exam, I don't remember seeing anything like that. Cloud Map, App Mesh, or Accelerator were definitely not covered. Also, maybe a question or two about API Gateway, but more in combination of containers. You're going to see API Gateway being mentioned there. So still, you should understand what API Gateway is, but I don't think there's going to be any like real input required from you about. There's no question specifically about API Gateway. It's more about how to expose a Lambda through an API Gateway, right? Because a Lambda doesn't have an IP address, so you need to expose it somehow. So what you do is you put an API Gateway in front and then create a method on the API Gateway that will call up that Lambda function, for example. That's just an example. That's not a question that's going to be in the exam. All right, deployment and management services. All right, let's go back to our account and look at the deployment and management. All right, management and governance. AWS organizations, for sure, you need to understand how it works. You need to understand that you can make a structure and that the billing is consolidated, and how EC2 reservations apply in organizations, that when you create a reservation, it applies across the whole structure of your accounts. Then CloudWatch. CloudWatch is one thing that you should also be talking about. Definitely monitoring metrics, making sure you understand how to create alarms, how to create logs, how to do custom metrics, and which options you have to pay for and which options are free, right? Auto scaling, for sure, a crucial part. There's a complete domain, as we saw. There's a complete domain in resilience. There's actually two domains that are focused on auto scaling: resilience and high performance, right? So having auto scaling will give you both. So make sure you understand how to auto scale, which metrics are useful for auto scaling with EC2, and what else auto scaling can be used for, like containers and DynamoDB tables and other stuff. You can't auto scale Lambda functions. That does not make any sense, right? It's actually parallel executions when it's Lambda functions. Don't forget that. CloudFormation. For the Architect Associate exam, they won't drill you too deep on CloudFormation, but you need to understand and be able to read either a JSON or a YAML formatted template. So make sure you understand the syntax and can extract the data from that syntax. They will also ask you a question about infrastructure as code. You can then point to the question, to the answer that says, CloudFormation. CloudFormation is your go-to when it's infrastructure as code. CloudTrail, to trail your API calls to AWS, you need to know the basics. Again, it exists. It's enabled automatically. It gives you 90 days of coverage by default for all your API calls, and then how to create a custom CloudTrail. Config, another solution that gives you the ability to do trails and security analysis, and also just capture the state of the objects inside of your environment. How to use config, how to use the rules that you build in config, and what is the difference between the pre-built rules and the custom rules for config. That's also crucial. Then there will be a little bit of questions on configuration management, like OpsWorks. There will be questions for systems manager. There will be questions on how choosing the right solution. You're going to have an answer where it's going to be either choose OpsWorks or OpsWorks or Elastic Beanstalk or Systems Manager or CloudFormation. You're going to have to know a bit about those four to be able to differentiate. And then it's going to be like, is it the simplest possible solution? It probably is going to be Elastic Beanstalk, right? Developers don't want to deal with the infrastructure, Elastic Beanstalk. You want to have complete ability to manage each and every aspect of your environment in an open source fashion, OpsWorks, because it supports Chef and Puppet, open source, right? And then, of course, Systems Manager, when they ask you about what's the easiest way to push updates onto your environment. Systems Manager, because you just create a fleet and, it's super well integrated. And remember, the configuration management tools like Systems Manager and OpsWorks, they can also control instances on premises. Don't forget that feature. Service catalog, app config, those not really there much in the exam. Trusted advisor, yes, basics about trusted advisor. They will basically ask you whether you understand what trusted advisor is. Control tower, didn't see that. License manager, nope. A well-architected tool. A crucial part of the Solutions Architect exam is the well-architected framework and the well-architected tool. Go and take a look at the well-architected tool. It's a great place to start to build your well-architected framework understanding. A personal health board, chatbot, launch wizard, compute optimizer, not really covered in the exam, right? So, okay, what do we have next? Let's go back to deployment and management. Yep, that we just covered that. Able to identify and define technical requirements on AWS-based applications. Okay, here I'm not going to jump into the console because able to understand technical requirements is like, we have a company, they have 5,000 users, they need a directory, and they need to do it as cheaply and as with low management as possible. Choose it, right? Identify which AWS service is given the technical requirements. Same thing about that. Knowledge of best practices for building secure and reliable applications on AWS platform. So this is the well-architected framework, right? Secure and reliable, well-architected framework is the crucial one here. Basic architectural principles. This I would go and do a little bit differently, right? So if you go back to your exam, it says, where do we have that? Oh, maybe there's white papers in here. Wait. All right, for this one, there's no white papers, I guess. All right, usually they give you some links to the white papers for architectures, but what we can do is we can actually look up sample AWS architectures, just like this, sample AWS architectures. All right, and we've got this one, Architecture Center, right? So look at these. There are the white papers. There's the white papers. They don't give you a link anymore, I guess, in the description. It used to link us to this AWS white papers, right? White papers definitely is a great place to study, right? So you can go like this, introduction to AWS. This is something that would be good for like practitioner. This is good for solutions architect, for sysops, and some of those will be good for developers. Like for example, security for Lambda, right? If you want to study for the exam, choose this category, well-architected framework, right? And then just take and look at like applications like this, serverless application lens. Take a look at the well-architected framework white paper itself, and then each pillar of the well-architected framework, right? Machine learning, not going to be that much use in your architecting exam. IoT, again, not much use. HPC, this one could be useful, right? And then architects also need to know about cloud adoption, so definitely security, right? ITIL is not important. Change management, not that important for architects, but more important for DevOps. Overview of the cloud adoption framework, I would definitely suggest that one. And again, ITIL, not really. Event management, this would be for like the security exam. This will be definitely useful there. But for the architect, cloud adoption framework and security perspectives. Once you identify the products, you can also go like this, compute, boom, and there's your papers, right? Databases, there's your papers. Containers, there's your white papers. All right. So this is how you look at and fulfill this one, basic architectural principles. You don't need to study the white paper into detail. Go to the architecture section and understand how those architectures are built, right? So let's open up a white paper. Let's open up this white paper here, right? take a look at the contents. I went a little bit too far. Definitions on architecture, general design principles. General design principles, right? These are your crucial factors that you need to understand. Stop gassing out capacity. Always test at production scale. Automate everything. Allow for evolution. Drive your architectures using data. That means feed the metrics back into your architecture and improve it over time. And then, of course, game days. These are crucial. Like, have your team go and play against each other, right? Have them, one team break the system, the other one try to fix the solution. And then it's got all these cool things about the well-architected framework, right? And then key AWS services, right? How to automate, how to make sure that your environment is secure. So these are your aspects here. All right, let's open up another paper. Overview of Amazon Web Services. Great stuff for... Oh, where is it? Oh, it's not a PDF. Okay, cool. Global infrastructure. This is something you need to understand, right? And for global infrastructure, also infrastructure.aws, right? This one is really cool website. You can spin around and look at the regions. You go in deeper into the regions and you see what the availability zones are, right? What kind of availability zones are tied to which environment. The pink ones are points of presence. So these are your, what do you call them? Your edge locations and regional edge caches, right? So as you can see, major cities here will have edge locations close somewhere, right? And of course, East Coast, West Coast, how Europe is connected to the US in here, right? How the US is connected with South America, how Africa is connected with all the other regions here, which regions are online, right? You can see that recently added Milan region and Cape Town region are already in here, right? And then of course, your Asian regions and how connections flow from those, right? So you can see Sydney to Indonesia is going to be much, much worse than Sydney to Tokyo as far as transit is concerned, right? So here you can make good decisions about transit. Again, there's no cross-Pacific cables, right? So a West Coast to East Asia is going to be the longest transit point, right? So that's a crucial factor when you're building applications on a global scale, where to position your applications and to understand basically how fast your connections are, right? All right. Indonesia coming up. It's not even connected yet. So that's the region that's being built right now. Let's see what it says about Indonesia. Coming soon, yeah. It's gonna be an interesting place for deploying your services. Anyway, yeah, let's go back to our document. All right, global infrastructure. I just showed you that. Network technologies as they relate to AWS. So that's basically network technologies like IP, IPv4, IPv6, routing. It's not going to go deep into routing with the architect. You need to know basic information about routing, how NAT works, how routing works, and of course, how VPNs operate, how a VPN is a private network over a public environment. And then finally, security features and tools that AWS provides and how they relate to traditional services. Now, for this last part, we jump back into the console and we look at security, right? IAM, identity and access management. A good identity baseline, a platform foundation is the foundation of your security. If you don't identify users, then everybody's anonymous. How do you control access? There's no way. So IAM, crucial. Cognito, understanding when Cognito makes sense. Also, Secrets Manager, how we can use Secrets Manager to store secrets and rotate them automatically. GuardDuty, a one-click tool that will detect any kind of anomalous traffic, anomalous actions inside of your account. Amazon Inspector for security checking. Amazon Macy for checking your S3 bucket for compliance, classifying documents and checking compliance. AWS single sign-on, there could be a question or two on single sign-on. Just understand what it is. Certificate manager, also probably good to understand that one. Basics of key management service and cloud HSM, basics of encryption and how key management service can speed up encryption. WAF and Shield, this is going to be tied with CloudFront security a lot of the time. So how to use WAF and Shield to make your environment more secure. How Firewall Manager can manage multiple WAF firewalls. Artifact. So Artifact essentially a repository for security documents. How you can build compliance through Artifact. How you can go to Artifact and just sign a compliance document, compliance contract with AWS. Security Hub, where you can centralize all your security environment. And Detective also not really part of it. So Detective, I don't see that as being in the environment. And Resource Access Manager, again, I haven't seen any questions of those, but basic understanding might be something you need. In IAM, users, groups, and roles, when to use a user, how to group users, when to use a role. Also, a lot of questions on federation with your Active Directory, federation with SAML, federation with your open, with your online open API, not open API, open ID directories. So we're talking about Amazon.com, Google, Facebook, Twitter, how we can use those in our application and what kind of role assumption approaches those use, right? Check out assume role with web identity and assume role with API with SAML. Those are two API calls for IAM. Check out how those work. Even if you're not a developer, even if you're studying for architect, solutions architect, or sysops, if you're doing solutions architect or sysop prep, definitely look into those. All right, that is pretty much what you need to know. All of these other services, not really part of your environment, except for cost management, right? Cost Explorer, AWS budgets, and Marketplace. Those you will get maybe one or two questions, but otherwise, even it's part of the cost optimization is part of the well-architected pillars. So when you go through the well-architected framework, you will definitely see cost management in here also, right? So if we go back, cost optimization, page 33. Page 33 will tell you everything about cost optimization. All right. That is it. I'm gonna leave it here. Again, you can use a book, to prepare. Also, it's a very good idea. I'm gonna leave you my links to my books. I'm gonna leave you links to practice questions. I'm gonna talk about practice questions in books and other ways to prepare for the exam in my next video. I need to essentially make more of these videos that are going to be showing how to extract the right contents. But right now, thank you very much for being with me. I will tell you goodbye. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to support my channel. This channel is not going to be monetized, so no commercials, nothing like that is going to be in there. If you want to support my channel, comment, subscribe, share my channel across the internet. Also, I have some affiliate links for practice questions underneath, or you can buy my books. Make me happy. It's really about making me happy. It's not really not going to make me a millionaire. Unfortunately, these books are very specific and very little copies are sold, but each copy that gets sold, I get a report for that, and I'm really grateful for anybody who buys any of these books that I have. And of course, thank you very much. I will see you in my next video, where I'm going to be discussing more domain extraction and principles for how to get a better learning experience. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. Bye.